Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel for another episode of No Offense, All Offense with me, stand-up comedian and pop culture vulture, Joleen Lunzer. Today, we are going to be watching the live press conference that is being held by Houston attorney Tony Buzbee. We talked about this a little bit on my stream last night during the Diddy portion of No Offense, All Offense. And Tony Buzbee, Houston attorney, will provide the first public details today regarding the lawsuits targeting Diddy and other alleged perpetrators. He will discuss the nature of the allegations, information about the people making the claims, and any potential additional defendants. So again, thank you to my mod, Atharella. Trigger warning regarding SA. There's an abuse hotline at the bottom, 800-656-HOPE. That's 800-656-HOPE. Thank you, Atharella. Make sure you guys smash that like, subscribe if you want to support the channel further. You know the drill. You can send a super chat here on YouTube. You can send a super thanks after the video posts, or you can join my YouTube membership or my Patreon for exclusive bonus content, or hit me up on the Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. Okay, this press conference has already started. Again, this is the Buzbee Law Firm and the Ava Law Group. They are saying they have over 100 alleged Diddy victims that want to file a suit, and we're going to learn more about that during this press conference. So sit back, grab a beverage, and let's listen to what they have to say here. Please give me a thumbs up in the chat as soon as you can hear the audio for this video.
Fans will go, no matter the length, fans will go, no matter the evidence to the contrary, to defend celebrities they love. I mean, there's a reason for this word fans. They're fanatics.
Hello, everyone.
I've personally already been threatened multiple times on social media. And when I agreed to pursue this, I expected as much. This isn't my first rodeo. But victims who step forward to have their voices heard should not be subjected to that kind of conduct. They should not be targeted. I want to say this, and I want to be clear about it. Although we are vetting each call as stringently as we can, I always start with a mindset that I believe victims. I believe victims because I understand the tremendous courage it takes to step forward. So if you're watching this, please hear me. If you're out there and you have been victimized, you are not alone. There is a great strength in numbers. You can seek redress. You can obtain justice. We can help you, and we will help you. That being said, as stated, we are vetting every call that we receive. We have had to turn away some. For each, we ask for corroboration. For each, we ask for the identity of witnesses. We also have collected pictures, videos, texts. We check venues, we check dates. We want to corroborate that the claims being made have legitimacy and merit. We have on staff now a former detective from the Major Offenders Unit of Houston Police Department who is helping us vet each claim. We're using our common sense. We're being stringent because, as I said, these are not easy cases. They're very tough. The process is hard, and in some cases, the process is very lengthy. These cases are hard to prove. Many times, it's the victim's word against the alleged perpetrator. Each of these victims will no doubt be publicly attacked by the alleged perpetrators, and in some cases, the general public. The feckless and cowardly keyboard warriors love to attack. We know what we're up against. We did not enter this fray blindly. I wish it was my last such fray. I wish this type of behavior wasn't so pervasive, but it is what it is, so we will press on. As I said, our law firms have been retained by 120 individuals at this point.
Wow.
To pursue cases in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs. You should know, in this group, it is evenly divided between males and females. There are 60 males and 60 females who have joined us to pursue these claims as plaintiffs. In this group, 62% identify as African American, 30% are white, and the remainder are Hispanic or Asian. The victims are from more than 25 states. The majority are from California,
Wow.
New York, Georgia, and Florida. And I want to focus on the ages of these victims. When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old.
Oh my God.
We have an individual who was 14 years old.
Oh
We
my
have
God.
one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of. The time frame of the acts complained of is very wide. The conduct at issue spans from the years 1991 all the way till this year, 2024. If you wonder why there are so many alleged victims, that's your answer. We're talking about more than 25 years of this type of conduct. Now, although most of the victims who have stepped forward were victimized after 2015, this has been going on for a very long time. Now, when you think about the fact that some of this conduct occurred 25 years ago, and you wonder why would it take somebody so long to step forward, I want to remind you that many states in the United States have recognized that it's very difficult for a victim to step forward and to make these types of allegations when something very terrible has happened to them. I'll use New York, the state of New York, as an example. The state of New York has specific statutes in place that revive claims that are even claims that would typically be not able to be brought, that it revives such claims and they can be brought even 25 to 30 years later. Because there's a recognition there in New York and California and other states that it's very difficult
Thank you,
for a
April.
victim to come forward. And I would respectfully suggest the only reason many of these people are coming forward because they see other victims coming forward. And it gives them some comfort that, hey, I won't be the only one. And I expect more victims will come forward. You know, there's an old saying, it says, a lie has great speed, but truth has endurance. The acts complained of in these cases that we're going to file occurred primarily in New York, either Manhattan or the Hamptons, or occurred in California, primarily in Los Angeles, or in Florida, primarily in Miami. Most of these events and incidents occurred at parties, typically after parties, or album release parties, New Year's Eve parties, 4th of July parties, something they called a puppy party, the all-white party, although several of these events occurred at auditions.
Oh.
Many times, especially young people wanting to break into the industry were coerced into this type of conduct in the promise of being made a star or in the promise of having Sean Combs listen to their tape or even let them read for Sean Combs. You should know that some of this behavior occurred at well-known venues in New York City. Some of this behavior occurred at private residences of people that we all know. Some of this behavior occurred at hotels that we're all familiar with. You should know that more than 55% of the victims filed reported this conduct to either the authorities, that is the police, or to hospitals. We're in the process of collecting with our team assistants, medical records, reports that were made to the authorities. And I've already said that some of the individuals in this group did in fact talk to the FBI. You should know that several of the individuals, and when I say several, I mean many, who did in fact seek medical treatment were drug tested, and drugs were found in their system, weird drugs that you probably never heard of. One in particular that continues to pop up is a drug called xylazine or trank, which based on our research is known as a horse tranquilizer.
Oh my God.
Now, there's been a lot of reports that we're filing a class action. This is not a class action. Class action is when one or two people file a case on behalf of a group of people. That's not this. These cases will be individual cases. Each case will live and die on its own merit. These cases will be filed individually, one plaintiff against whoever the defendants were involved in the case. Each case may be filed in one venue like California. Another case may be filed in New York. One case may sue just Sean Combs, but multiple other people. One case may sue a range of people. I would expect most, though, to be filed, as I said, in New York and Los Angeles. Now, I know this. Many of you came here thinking or hoping or perhaps believing that I may start naming names. Well, that day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you. These are individual cases. There are indeed other perpetrators involved. They will be revealed when that particular individual case is ready to be filed. They already know who they are. And I'm talking here about not just the cowardly but complicit bystanders. That is, those people that we know watched this behavior occur and did nothing. And I'm talking about the people that participated, encouraged it, egged it on. They know who they are. I call them the facilitators of foul play, willing participants in vile conduct. As we identify them, each will be part of this case as defendants. These defendants will not only include individuals, but would also include corporate entities who ultimately profited off of this culture and behavior. I'm looking at banks, pharmaceutical companies, hotels. We know that many of these individuals were paid cash. We know that many of these individuals involved, whether they were the ones being assaulted and abused, or they're witnessing other people being assaulted and abused and then paid and threatened and told to leave. Typically paid 10 grand in cash and told to leave. And then threatened as they were leaving. So in addition to Sean Combs, you should know the defendants in these cases we're going to file will include anyone, of course, who engaged in the assault or exploitation, anyone who participated in such in any way, anyone who encouraged or facilitated this conduct, anyone who was in the room and watched it happen but made no effort to stop it, any venue or venue owner who was aware of what was going on but failed to stop it, any individual or entity who knew about the conduct and benefited from it but did nothing to report it or stop it, and any individual or entity who covered it up or helped cover it up. These people who know who they are should just come forward now. I would imagine, as we speak here, there are a myriad of people who are very nervous. You can't hide skeletons in the closet forever. I would expect there are many people out there right now who are desperately searching their memories as they delete their texts and data. Now, although these are, in fact, individual cases, there is a common theme, an MO, if you will. Typically, the victim is lured into a situation where he or she is given a drink. Typically, that drink, reported by these victims, is apparently laced with something. Once that drink takes effect, the perpetrators perform all kinds of sexual acts on the victims, many times passing him or her around as other people watch and enjoy the show, and then leave the victim ashamed, confused, injured, and wondering what happened. When the victim reaches out, he or she is told not to say anything. Sometimes there are threats of physical violence or financial repercussions or bodily harm. The claims we intend to bring will include the following: violent sexual assault or rape, sexual abuse, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, false imprisonment, compelling prostitution, sexual misconduct, dissemination of video recordings, false imprisonment, sexual abuse of minors. Given the large volume of cases, and given our other docket obligations, and given the fact that we want to be sure when we file these cases that they are fully vetted, I expect we'll start filing these cases against Sean Combs and other perpetrators within the next 30 days. Now, it's rare, sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, this type of activity is pervasive in our society, and it's rare we get a chance where we can really focus on this as a country and really focus on this about how pervasive this is and what we can, as collectively can do about it. So I thought I'd take this opportunity before I go into some of the individual cases and talk about some of the individual claims being made and so you'll get a sense of what this 120 people group looks like individually. I want to bring forward Carrie Paul. She's a national victim advocate who helps victims who have been victimized by this type of conduct. And she has some important words, and I hope you'll pay close attention. I think it's important that you hear from her.
Hello, I'm Carrie Paul with the National Victim Advocate. It's not easy for any survivor to come forward. Our culture doesn't believe survivors. It blames and questions them. Instead of showing support, many choose to enable abusers. The media runs stories asking why it took so long for survivors to come forward instead of asking what barriers exist. We also don't equip law enforcement with the ability to handle sexual assault crimes. Lack of funding translates to lack of training. We have officers in the field that don't know what to say to a rape victim, and also an alarming amount of backlogged, untested rape kits. Prosecutors are focused on what they can prove in a case, and if so, how to do that at time of trial. Advocates and staff are stretched thin with growing caseloads in the criminal justice system. Most people don't know how the criminal justice works in general. There isn't enough staff or resources to adequately explain the entire process to every victim and survivor. Our culture works against victims and survivors every day, and abusers know this. Abusers work themselves into positions of power, building a public image that is trusted and financially large enough to make people look away. Abusers are unfortunately very skilled at power and control, the foundation of abuse. They seek victims who are vulnerable, such as children, their employees, and their intimate partners, all who see a different version than the public does, all who rely on the abuser in some way. And for those that do come forward and aren't believed, face questions like, are you sure it happened that way? Were you drinking? What were you wearing? All of this creates an environment that enables abusers to continue abusing them and future victims. To the survivors that have come forward despite not being believed at some point in time, your courage is like nothing we have seen before. We thank you for coming forward for yourself and all survivors. And lastly, I want all survivors that are watching this to know we believe you and we support you. Thank you.
I want you now to hear from my co-counsel, Andrew Van Arsdale. We've created a sexual abuse hotline, and I want him to visit with us just a few moments about how that works and the kind of volume of calls we've received.
Thank you, Tony. Like Tony said, my name is Andrew Van Arsdale. I'm the managing partner of ABA Law Group. We have offices in California, Montana, and North Carolina. To build off of what you just so well said, it's very hard to come forward. And given what we've experienced the past 10 days is really unprecedented in my career, at least. We represent thousands of survivors of abuse, and never, ever in a 10-day period have we seen over 3,000 people come forward, or we've confirmed and decided to investigate and represent 120 people, while we're continuing to work through another 100 plus cases to prove them up, to validate what had happened here, and to hold those that are responsible accountable. And so, like Tony said, we've set this up. It's 1-800-200-7474. I have a team of people standing by, literally. If you know that this happened to someone and you have information about it, please contact us. If this happened to you, come forward. There's attorney-client privilege here. What you tell us is in confidence. Yes, we'll have to go out and build your case, but we will protect you. And the other thing that I want to say is the pattern and practice of this, again, is unprecedented. Over 30 plus years of the same sort of events happening, people thrust into the circle reportedly, and horrible things happening to them as a result. And from talking to these people that have come forward these past 10 days, I can tell you unequivocally that because the federal government did what it needed to do and indicted this man, that they put him in jail and a judge kept him in jail, they tell me directly, this validates my feelings. For so long, I thought it was my fault. What is it about me that put myself in that scenario? What was I wearing at the time? What did I do to be subjected to such horrific treatment at these people that I was trying to trust? Well, we know now it was not your fault. You were victimized by a group of powerful people that operated for 30 plus years, taking advantage of their wealth and the power that they held within the music industry. So again, thank you to every single person that has come forward and contacted our office over the past 10 days. If you or someone you know suffered the same sort of treatment, please contact us at the number behind me and we will help you. Thank you.
I think it speaks to how important this issue is in the United States and frankly, internationally, that we have reputable people here that want to provide kind of information that I think victims need to hear, witnesses need to hear, the public needs to hear. Let me introduce to you now Olivia Rivers from the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, and let her visit with you a few moments about these types of cases.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Q Olivia Rivers. I am just served my 6th year as the board chair for the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. I'm also the CEO for the Bridge Over Troubled Waters, which is a local rape crisis center here in the Houston area. So thank you for being here as we address these heinous crimes. Sexual assault is not just a crime of violence against the body. It's an assault on the very essence of human dignity and safety. It shatters lives, it destroys confidence, and all too often, it leaves survivors feeling like they are voiceless, isolated, and vulnerable. The reality for many survivors is that coming forward to report their assault is one of the most difficult and daunting tasks that they will ever have to do. And for some, it may take days, months, or even years to speak up if they ever do. The reasons for this have been mentioned, but include the fear of being disbelieved, being blamed or judged, and of course, retaliation. The trauma of the assault itself being compounded by the trauma of the criminal justice process, where survivors must relive their experience in order to seek justice. And these feelings and fears are further exacerbated when the allegations are against prominent figures in the entertainment industry or Hollywood. Cases involving powerful figures often attract significant media attention, which can deter victims from coming forward due to fear of public exposure or scrutiny. The intense focus on these high-profile cases can make survivors feel that their personal lives are being put under a microscope, causing further emotional distress. These allegations mentioned here today, as reported, reflect deeply troubling claims that deserve thorough investigation, and no individual, regardless of their stature, is above the law or public accountability. Sadly, the statistics paint a very disturbing picture. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. In the US alone, there are approximately 463,000 victims of rape or sexual assault every year, and these numbers barely scratch the surface, as sexual violence remains one of the most underreported crimes. But the numbers that follow tell an even more troubling story. Only about 23% of sexual assaults are reported to law enforcement. Of those, just 5% lead to an arrest, and even fewer, less than 1% of reported cases, ever result in a conviction, which is a devastating gap between the crime and the justice that survivors deserve. I want to briefly focus on our state here in Texas. According to the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, 6.3 million Texans, men and women, will experience some form of violence. That's every 2 minutes someone is sexually assaulted, meaning during the course of this press conference, around 60 individuals will forever be changed by this violence. And those are just a few of the victims. Obviously, this is unacceptable. We cannot allow this cycle of silence and inaction to continue. We have to create an environment where survivors feel empowered to come forward, where they are met with empathy and respect and support, not skepticism and blame. We have to ensure that our legal system is equipped to handle these cases with the seriousness they deserve, and that survivors have access to the resources that they need beyond the legal courtroom. We have to address the root causes of this epidemic: prevention, awareness, and fostering environments where respect, consent, and safety are non-negotiable values. Additionally, support for survivors has to be holistic. They have to have access to counseling, medical services, legal advocacy, and of course, community support, regardless of whether they choose to report or not. To every survivor who has come forward, your bravery is an inspiration. To those who are still grappling with their decision, know that you are not alone and that your voice matters. Your story matters. We see you, we believe you, and we are committed to fighting for a future where sexual violence is no longer tolerated and where justice is not the exception, but the standard. Thank you.
I want to visit with you real quickly before we close here about some specific instances without disclosing the victim's name. You probably know that depending on the age of the victim, you can file these cases, these individual cases, under Jane Doe or John Doe. Each state is different in that respect. Typically, there is a balancing test, like the public's right to know the name of the victim and plaintiff versus the confidentiality and the safety of the plaintiff. So we'll have to struggle with that with each one of these cases. Our intention, of course, is to, like we always do, file these cases under a pseudonym until the court tells us otherwise. But let me share with you a few, just kind of give you a sense of the kind of cases and the kind of instances that people are calling and reporting that we are trying to corroborate, vet, and these are the ones that we've already corroborated, vetted, and collected evidence on. One individual who was 22 years at the time she was assaulted said that the typical MO at one of these parties that have been widely discussed in the press was that when you were handed a drink, and now we know that the drink is laced with something, if you refused to drink it, you were kicked out of the party. Now, let that sink in for a minute. I mean, the admission to this party was that you had to drink the chosen drink that was handed to you. And now we know that in most cases, I would say 90% of the cases, these individuals were drugged with some sort of drug. That was kind of the MO. Another instance, this individual who was 9 years old at the time was taken to an audition in New York City with Bad Boy Records. Other boys were there to audition as well. All of them were trying to land a record deal. All of them were minors. This individual was sexually abused, allegedly by Sean Combs and several other people at the studio in the promise to both his parents and to him himself of getting a record deal. Another instance, another minor, told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him. Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend a party, was drugged, and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual, minor, was raped, and then other individuals took turns raping her. Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up by, allegedly, by Mr. Combs and several other people in a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, an individual, this time not a minor, attended a group dinner, allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again, allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami. Her vagina and her anus were torn and sore. And I could go on. I mean, literally, you're sensing a theme here. It's the same theme, and it all involves some sort of drug. One instance, an individual who was 20 years old at the time was asked to attend, just saw her on the street, asked to attend a party in a hotel. She was flattered, went to the party, was given one drink and doesn't remember anything else. Ultimately, was so messed up, went to the hospital where they found cocaine and this horse tranquilizer in her blood system. I want to give you a quote from a very young man who told us over the phone about his experience and all the things that happened to him. He says, allegedly at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs and his friends in the effort to try to sign a record deal. This was kind of what he was told he would have to do. His quote is, "Had he not been in power, I feel like I could have been something great. I quit the industry because of what Sean Combs did to me." And that's really what it comes down to. We are pursuing this, asking you to support this effort, to encourage witnesses and victims to come forward and bring your evidence so we can continue to break down this wall of silence, and we can continue to have these stories heard. This is the beginning of what I hope to be a national dialogue. This type of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual exploitation should never happen in the United States or anywhere else. This should have never been allowed to go on for so long. This conduct has created a mass of individuals who are injured, scared, and scarred. If you are one of those individuals, we ask you to reach out. If not to us, to someone you trust. If you are someone who witnessed any of these events, we ask you to reach out. Your name can remain confidential. With that, I'll take a few questions, not many, maybe two, but if you have a question, I'll be pleased to try to answer it. Perfect.
How many minors are making accusations in total, and are the feds aware of the allegations of minor raping?
I don't know what the feds are aware of, okay, but I do know it's 25 out of this 120.
Tony, are
But I will say this to that point. We welcome the FBI or any authority who wants to come to us, and we're going to make that available to these victims because I think that's important. My suspicion is, based on talking with these folks, is that the FBI is just not aware of these people. The FBI has talked to some of these folks, and I'm going to try to encourage the victims to, in fact, talk to the FBI because I think they have some very important things to say.
Tony, were all of the children auditioning because they were musicians, or were any of them kids of employees or anything like that?
All seeking either TV or some sort of music career with promises of, we're going to make you a star. Instead, basically did things to them such that they don't want to have anything to do with the entertainment industry ever again. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your attention. We're going to go now. Thank you.
Tony, do you anticipate any Houston cases?
Any filed here?
Locally, yeah.
There's a few plaintiffs here, but I don't anticipate filing them. Probably in New York City.
All right. You guys, so that is the live press conference that just ended out of Houston. Again, over 100, according to this lawyer Buzbee, over 100 or 120 alleged Diddy survivors are expected to file suit. And wow, let's go over just a little bit of what I was trying to take notes, but I mean, you guys, you heard what we just heard. It is beyond disturbing and disgusting. And unfortunately, like we talked about last night, it is not something that is rare now to hear in our society with people in positions of power, whether it be within Hollywood, politics, corporate America, that they find people to prey on. So this is very disturbing. So in this case that they're going to have, we have the Ava Law Group. And then we also have, I believe, Tony Buzbee, and that is the Buzbee Law Firm, which is out of Houston. So we have the Ava Law Group and the Tony Buzbee Law Firm out of Houston, who are taking the cases of 120 of Diddy's survivors. And this is not, he made that very clear, even though I just checked TMZ and they clearly don't listen, because TMZ is reporting that it's a class action lawsuit. But Mr. Buzbee made it very clear that this is not a class action lawsuit, that these survivors instead will submit their cases individually. So every survivor will submit their case. So it'll be one plaintiff against the defendants, Diddy and whoever else is named as a defendant in each case. They said that the day will come when names will be named, but that day will not be today, right, Chiv? It's like, how hard was that to just listen? I mean, no, you're not going to get it all, but that's a pretty important fact. And the fact that TMZ right away is saying, yeah, we have, I think they still, yes, look at this. I mean, did you not, what are you doing? I mean, I understand that they're not real. I mean, they're not, like, I shouldn't say real, but they're, a gossip site and all that, but it shouldn't be that difficult to get this. I mean, if we can do it over here, surely they can do it. But as you can see, TMZ is reporting that Diddy new accusers tell their stories, and they're saying, oh, I think they changed the title. Are you watching me? Are you watching me? Because in there they had that it was going to be a class action. And I don't know if I'm seeing it here, but that is previously what we saw when, let me just take a screenshot of this so you guys don't think I'm an insane person. But 54 minutes ago, let me pull this up, TMZ was reporting a class action lawsuit. Again, this is not a class action lawsuit. The survivors will be filing on a case-by-case basis. They will have individual cases that they'll be filing against Diddy and whoever the other defendants are. So let me pull this up here. And let's get this out of there. And where did you guys go? Okay, you are right here. So let's pull this over here. And as you can see, they did change it, thankfully. But here you see top stories 54 minutes ago. Diddy class action lawsuit alleging S crimes and attorney holds press conference. And it's not a class action lawsuit. Okay. Sorry, I saw that and I just rolled my eyes because he made it so clear that when I was writing my notes, it was that he said that, and I thought that was very important. So it won't be a lawsuit by the group of 120 survivors. It will be one plaintiff against the defendants. So to this day, he said there are names to name. There are people that are defendants as well. And there are people who were complicit to this. There are people who profited off this. But the names will not be named today. Tony Buzbee, the attorney with the Buzbee law firm, he said that there are a lot of high-profile names on this list, and that the victims are as young as 9 and 14. And according to the questions at the end of the press conference, 25 of the 120 survivors who are filing lawsuits against Diddy and other defendants are minors. So we have 25 minors included. Okay. And then we also have, I believe he said, across 25 states, these survivors live. And the minors, there was a question asking, what do the feds know? Do the feds know about the amount of minors, or that minors in general are included in this? And Tony Buzbee said he's not sure what the feds know, but he wants them to know these things, and that all of these survivors who are minors allegedly were looking to break into the entertainment business, whether it be through music or television. And that's some of this could have occurred at Bad Boy Records itself. So highly, highly disturbing things. Knowing just that there are any minors included in this. And there was speculation, as this story was breaking and coming out, that one of Diddy's sons allegedly might have been responsible for bringing in the minors. There was a talk of like 16-year-old girls. I think also some of the accusations against Diddy, even prior to this press conference, and us learning what we learned from the Buzbee law firm and the Ava Law Group press conference, there were teenagers who have made accusations against Diddy for SA, as well as Aaron Hall. There is a woman in particular who was 16 allegedly at the time of her SA by not only Diddy, but Aaron Hall. I'm assuming she's in this lawsuit, or she's, filing with this group individually, of course. But they will name names soon. And there are other perpetrators and complicit bystanders with high-profile names, the Buzbee law firm saying. He also talked about corporate entities that profited off of this culture and behavior. So they know many of the individuals involved were paid to leave. So people who might have been there, might have seen it, might have watched it, were then paid, sometimes, according to the Buzbee law firm, $10,000 in cash, and threatened and asked to leave. He also mentioned banks, like corporate entities, such as banks being involved in this, who profited off of this, which unfortunately is not surprising either. He mentioned anyone who had any part in covering these crimes up are going to be named. So when this list comes out with the names of the corporate entities and the people who are either complicit, benefited from it, were involved in the assaults, that is going to be, wow, that is going to be quite eye-opening. Victims, he talked a lot about victims that were given, and we've heard this throughout the Diddy case and throughout the Diddy accusations, is that victims were given laced drinks with things in them like what's referred to as tranks, which is horse tranquilizers. We've heard GHB. We've heard, I think GHB and maybe Rohypnol. I'm not sure. But drugs that would make it so that the victims were not coherent during these attacks. And we saw that in Little Rod's lawsuit. He alleged that he was talked into taking a shot of tequila that was laced with something, and then he woke up in a bed, doesn't remember anything, and woke up in a bed next to a sex worker. So just crazy. And these accusations with Diddy, very Cosby-esque of rugging, we'll say, because YouTube doesn't like when we use certain words over here, but lacing the drinks of their victims went back all the way to the 90s. Certain claims and lawsuits that have come up from survivors in the 90s about this. So victims were threatened, he said, with bodily harm, physical repercussions, and financial threats. So obviously Diddy was a huge gatekeeper within the music industry and Hollywood in general. And he used that power, unfortunately, like many horrible men and women do, to abuse people and to take away their dreams from them and to just, ruin their lives, essentially. The Buzbee law firm during this press conference said they will start filing the cases against Diddy and other perpetrators in the next 30 days. So in the next 30 days, I imagine there will be quite a few names. I imagine people, I know you guys were saying it in the chat, people will be packing up their homes. We've already seen, rumblings of certain music executives retiring, allegedly. And also, we have this New York mayor who allegedly has close ties to Diddy, who has been indicted recently on a number of things. Then they had, what I liked about this press conference is then they had some victim and survivor advocates like Carrie Paul and Olivia Rivers, I believe was the other woman's name, a national victim advocate, helps victims of SA. And they spoke about, the victim blaming and the shame, because what you're going to hear and what we've heard before, especially before the Cassie video dropped, the 2016 assault that Diddy inflicted on Cassie in the hotel lobby in Los Angeles in 2016, and then allegedly paid the hotel $50,000 to hide that footage. But thankfully, the footage has now come out. Oh my goodness. So, before seeing that, there were a lot of Diddy sympathizers, a lot of people saying, no, Diddy didn't do that. No, this is just because Diddy and his lawyers were really trying to push the propaganda that this is a cash grab, that this is a witch hunt, and that these claims are disgusting. And then lo and behold, here comes the Cassie video, and he's out there crying in Barbados. I don't know where the hell the dude was, Miami, wherever he was. And saying, I made a mistake. That is more than a mistake, sir. That is a forever ending everything. And so it was frustrating to see so many people want to believe Diddy. And just think about that on the level of just public opinion. And then you have these survivors who are going up against this now kind of titan in the industry. I mean, Diddy really is the first true hip hop mogul that it went past the music, past the, bad boy. It went into Ciroc, liquor. He was, it went into clothing. It went into fragrances. Like, he really built this business for himself. And he had some very big donors. Some of the richest people in New York were doing business with Diddy. And so with money like that, you follow the money. And unfortunately, we see this all too often in the United States, is that these corporations, we see it with the NFL, we see it in Hollywood, we see it everywhere. They will protect the money. They will not protect the people. They will protect the money, unfortunately, and just thinking of, the, CTE scandals within the NFL and how many players and families had to suffer because they didn't want that out there. And so we're seeing this with the Diddy situation, unfortunately, and a lot of Hollywood, with Harvey Weinstein, with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, there are a lot of powerful people and they have vested interest. And my grandpa always said, follow the money and you will find the root of evil. And here we are. So it's just very disturbing. And obviously, I liked how the survivor advocates were just saying within this press conference, like, don't question when a victim comes forward. Question why the perpetrator did this. Question them. It shouldn't be up to these victims to try to have to answer for why they came forward. We know too much. It's 2024. We know that it is extremely difficult to come forward with this sort of thing, let alone go through what these victims have went through and then have it on a public platform and then go up against a guy who has all the resources and all the people protecting him. And we've seen this time and time again, and still we are questioning victims. And it doesn't even have to be on a Diddy level. It could be on a, you're afraid to, any survivors who don't want to bring their case forward. We see that there is issues within the justice system for victims of SA and DV to actually get justice. We see the fear that these survivors live in. We also see the manipulative tactics that these perpetrators use, whether it be financial freedom. We hear this with women who are in DV situations with their, boyfriend or husband, and why didn't you leave? Well, a lot of times there's nowhere for them to go. And also if they leave, they're terrified that that person will find them and take their life because they've been told that so many times. So there are so many things. I think it is just willful ignorance at this point that people are still blaming survivors and still questioning. And the fact that there is a statute of limitations on this is insane. Knowing what we know about survivors of SA and DV, and knowing how difficult it is to even come forward, and how ill-equipped, the police actually is to deal with this, and how ill-equipped our judicial system and how often it fails people in these situations, it should be no wonder that some people never come forward. It's just too big of a mountain to climb alone when you're going up against a system that's not working for you. And then if you're going up against anyone that has any kind of power, money, influence, and Diddy had all of that. He had arguably some of the most we've ever seen. Maybe even more than Weinstein, more pull. I mean, Weinstein had a lot of, pull as a producer, so probably not, but on the level of Weinstein. But what Weinstein didn't have is he also didn't have the public perception and likability. You got to remember, Diddy in the 90s, he created this this personality for himself. He created this image for himself after, when the Biggie and Tupac East Coast, West Coast thing is going on. It was like Diddy put himself as the antithesis of death row. He put himself as the antithesis of Suge Knight. He was going to be the good guy, the let's all get along. Suge Knight clowned him about, you want to be all up in the video, you want the producer dancing all up in the video, go over to Bad Boy. But if you want to make like real music, come over to Death Row. And so Diddy purposefully, made himself like, no, we're the good. We would never want that. 5 shots couldn't drop me. I took it and smiled. No, we didn't go after Tupac. No, we didn't. No, that didn't happen. And so he ran with that. So I think as far as public image went, it was like the Suge Knight was more of publicly people were like, ooh, he's scary. And then Diddy, they're like, he can't be scary. He's in shiny suits and he's skinny and he says he loves everybody, So he just went on the other end of that. And it seemed like public opinion was a lot friendlier or softer to Diddy. So not only does he have this power and influence like Harvey Weinstein, but he also has the likability within the public. His face is everywhere. He is literally a huge brand. And people have already made their decisions in their head about him. I mean, after the 1999 club shooting, where Shine ended up, doing 10 years, and Diddy threw him under the bus, even though the woman who was shot directly in her face said it was Diddy who did it, a jury of 12 of his peers still were like, not guilty. So there is just so much going on within this that I can't even imagine being a survivor of this man, of a man with this much power. That's crazy. Now, I do think we need to look into, I mean, obviously, knowing that there are so many minors and everything, look into the Justin Timberlake, look into what's going on with Usher. We have parents of children in the music industry and Hollywood and entertainment industry who are basically pimping out, selling out their kids. I mean, it's mind-blowing to think that you have parents who would think that any kind of fame would be more important than protecting your child. We have Usher, who went to like the Diddy camp because Clive Davis said he should when he was like 13, 14 years old. And we know now from interviews with Usher that he was subjected to quite a lot of, things that you shouldn't be when you're 13, 14, 12. You shouldn't be away from your family with some guy in the music business. And then ironically, Usher discovers Justin Bieber on YouTube. And then all of a sudden, now Justin Bieber he wasn't living with him like Usher was. I believe Usher's was like Diddy was given temporary custody of Usher, which is insane when he was a teenager. And Diddy and had Justin Bieber over at his house, I believe, for like 48 hours. And there's these super creepy videos of an extremely young Justin Bieber and Diddy saying weird ass shit. And we've seen Justin Bieber's I don't want to like assume, because he should be able to tell his own story. And I think it's probably very difficult to have people out there just making all these assumptions about what happened to you. But it's when you look at all of this and all of these allegations coming out, you have to think, did this happen to him as well? And did this happen to Usher? And then did Usher then become part of the pattern? Because, a lot of this kind of behavior and abuse, it becomes a pattern, it becomes a cycle. The person that abuses you was most likely abused. And then once you're abused, there's a chance you might start abusing. There's this whole thing, and it's crazy. Yeah, like Otter's saying, the odds aren't good. And we've seen Bieber give interviews and talk about his, disenchantment with the industry and how people dropped him and he struggled through the years. And I think that's true for most kids in the industry. I really don't think there's a need for children in the entertainment business. I don't. And as someone who is a person who has, actively auditioned for things, booked things, I'm nobody, but as someone who lived in Hollywood, as someone who writes scripts, I don't think we need kids. If we got AI, and let's just make AI for the kids. You can AI in kids in movies and television shows. I mean, it's just like someone mentioned in the chat, like the Larry Nassar gymnastics, that absolute monster who took advantage of these young girls, USA Gymnastics, and how everybody, so many people overlooked it. And he did it oftentimes with their parents right there. Now their parents arguably had no idea, or I don't know if they were in the same room, but it's just a whole mess. But again, anywhere where you put children with adults having power over them, and when we're profiting off children, you see this sort of stuff. And it's really very, very disgusting. So, wow. So here we are with 120 survivors about to file individual lawsuits against Diddy, as well as other defendants, names to be determined and released. They're going to file within the next 30 days. That's what the Buzbee law firm said during this press conference. And then there was a quote that Tony Buzbee, the main attorney who spoke during this press conference, said from one of the survivors, who had said, had Diddy not been in power, I feel like I could have been something great. I quit the industry because of what Sean Combs did to me. And that is a direct quote from a survivor according to Tony Buzbee from the Buzbee law firm. And that is so true. There are so many people. I mean, obviously the other, pain and everything that's caused by these people, but there are so many of these gatekeepers, these men and women who abuse people who just have a dream, who are just trying to pursue what they think they were put on this earth to do. And I've seen this just within stand-up comedy on my own. These freaking disgusting gatekeepers who think they have power over people because arguably they do, and they use that power for evil. And then you destroy people's dreams and you take that thing from them. And now we're looking at 120 more people, 25 of which were minors when it happened, who Diddy and the other defendants to be named have taken their dreams away from them. And it's really, really disgusting. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Pamela says he is up shit creek without a paddle. All of that money isn't going to help him. No. And he's going to run out of it very quickly with the amount he's going to have to pay. Because remember, we got a new team. We got a new dream team of lawyers. All right. Because Diddy, allegedly, Mark Agnafilo, his lawyer, who's out there saying, oh, Diddy's just a guy who likes to load up on baby oil. He's like an American consumer. He goes to the Costco. So there's nothing lewd or lascivious about that. Totally normal. Everybody gets 1,000 bottles of baby oil, which we're now learning could possibly have some of the rugs, we'll say, could be laced, the baby oil, and used during these freak-offs where people were essayed and filmed without their consent. And possibly these videos were also distributed. I mean, Jaguar Wright made quite a few claims about this, that Diddy had sold some of these videos that hopefully Homeland Security was able to get many of them. I know they were able to get some of them. I don't know how many during their raids of his homes, but hopefully they were able to get all of them. But some of these videos where he was filming people without their consent while they are being possibly essayed or involved in these freak-off type situations. So Diddy has now this weirdo who was like, I'm going to do a Tubi documentary and I'm going to get interviewed and just say, hey, no, it's just Costco. He just likes to buy in bulk. And then Costco says, we don't even sell baby oil. Costco just slapped right back at this idiot and said, but we don't sell baby oil. So please don't include us. And no one's going to need 1,000 bottles of baby oil, you creep. So according to news that broke yesterday, Diddy has taken on 2 new lawyers, and one of them being Anthony Rico, pictured here. I want to tell you guys a little bit about what I found about Anthony Rico. So Anthony Rico has been a lawyer who has been practicing for quite a while. He is someone who, I think they said he is let me just double check here. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I want to make sure we get the information correctly. Okay. So we get it correct. So Diddy, he has brought on 2 new attorneys, Anthony Rico, pictured here next to me, and Alexandra Shapiro to his legal team on his highly publicized criminal case. Okay. And also Alexandra, not related to Robert Shapiro. They made that pretty clear. And we're told that Anthony is known as one of the finest trial lawyers in the country. And he has been a part of high profile cases. This is nothing new to him. And also cases where people have questioned, why are you even taking this case? And I found an article from the New York Times where it was about Anthony Rico, and it was about him defending a detective, and he was catching the heat for this. So it was opening days of the trial of 3 detectives in Queens, and this is from 2008, ironically, when all the Diddy indictment time starts. So there was a trial for 3 detectives in Queens, and Anthony L. Rico, a lawyer for the undercover detective who fired the first shots of a barrage that killed Sean Bell, was on his way to lunch. when a question came, there was a bunch of young people ran up to him, he said, and they wore pins for the new Black Panther Party. One said, I want to ask you a question. They were asking me about the case, and they were like, how could you? How could Mr. Rico, high-profile defense lawyer for the accused, sit down at a table with police officers? How could Mr. Rico, a prominent Black lawyer and lifetime resident of Harlem, represent an officer responsible for the death of an unarmed Black man, even if the officer himself is Black? So he's already been a part of some very high-profile cases. And this is someone that, this is someone who he has brought on. He went to the Fordham School of Law, or he was an adjunct, professor of law at the Fordham School of Law. Let's see. What else do we have here? I mean, that's going to cost a pretty penny. This guy's going to cost some money. So, been practicing criminal defense for quite a long time, had quite a few high profile cases. And so that is one of the new attorneys. And then we also have a woman, let me pull up her picture here, Alexandra Shapiro, no relation to Robert, the late Robert Shapiro, and here she is. And Alexandra Shapiro, she has her own story. So both of these, I think mainly Alexandra Shapiro, but it could be both of them. Alexandra, Diddy got the idea to have her represent him from one of his friends now in prison. And we talked about this yesterday, that Diddy is in a dorm style unit in the Brooklyn Metropolitan Prison that he is in. And he is there with the former president of Honduras. And then he is also there with the crypto guy, Sam Bankman-Friedman. So he is there with Sam Bankman-Friedman, who founded FTX cryptocurrency exchange. And he was celebrated as the poster boy for crypto, with FTX having a global reach. But he is now known as the guy that got 25 years in prison, and he is in this dorm style unit area of the prison with Diddy and the former president of Honduras, and he's serving 25 years for defrauding customers and investors of his now bankrupt firm. And he frauded people to the tune of, I think it was, I'm trying to find the amount here, but it was in the billions. So let's see. We talked about it last night, but I don't remember the exact amount. Okay, it was $8 billion. So he was convicted by a New York jury last year on charges including wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering after a trial that detailed how he had taken more than $8 billion from customers and used the money to buy property, make political donations, and put toward other investments. So Diddy, they're saying, received the I guess they were I don't know if they were chatting it up in there, just talking about lawyers and law. And Sam might have been like, hey, I got a great lawyer for you. She got me 25 years when I should have and could have done a lot more. And now we have Diddy with Alexandra Shapiro and Anthony Rico. So let's see. Ben, what are we looking up again? Oh, Sam. I keep thinking his name is Ben. Sam Bankman-Fried. Okay, so yeah, Diddy has now hired Sam Bankman-Fried's new lawyer. All right. The unlikely pair share a cell, and it's a dorm-like cell, they were saying. Now they share a lawyer. Sean Diddy Combs has hired Sam Bankman-Fried's lawyer, Alexander Shapiro, to appeal a New York judge's decision to keep him locked up while he awaits trial for racketeering and trafficking charges. Sam Bankman-Friedman was sentenced to 25 years, we talked about, in prison. in March for the collapse of his crypto exchange, FTX, hired Shapiro to handle his appeal shortly after his conviction. Last month, this woman pictured next to me, Alexandra Shapiro, filed a 102-page appeal in the Second Circuit requesting a new trial for Sam Bankman-Fried and accusing the judge overseeing the case of being unfairly biased against him. Lawyers interviewed by this site that I'm quoting, CoinDesk.com, are largely skeptical of the appeal's chance of success. But 102, that is a lot more than Mr. Anglofino did for Diddy. And so Diddy's hoping she files a 102-page appeal for him to be let out on bail, which obviously nobody wants Diddy out on bail. I don't even think Diddy's own family wants Diddy out on bail. If you ask me, again, these are just my opinions, allegedly. However, everything I say is true, except for the parts that are false. But both are famed, I guess not famed, but both are have worked on very highly publicized criminal cases and had some success. So now Diddy's hoping they have success when he goes in for the third time to request that he be released from jail on bail until his trial. And we know that the judge who's going to oversee this trial had denied it twice. This will be the third time where he's like, just let me out. And they're like, no. Judge Andrew Carter rejected both proposals, siding with federal prosecutors who argued that Combs is a danger to the community and a flight risk. Yes. On the Cassie video alone, he's a danger to society, in my opinion. The judge said one of his biggest concerns were allegations that Combs had attempted to tamper with witnesses who had been contacted by prosecutors as part of the investigation. So now we have, Diddy adding people to his team, hopefully to get some kind of dream team, I guess. Pamela B, thank you for the first super chat of the live. Pamela B says, Diddy might as well hire Rico Suave. I mean, good luck, sir. Bettina, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate that. So obviously he is talking to his cohorts, or would be to his roommates, to his neighbors inside of the Brooklyn detention center, prison, jail that he's in, and getting recommendations on lawyers. So, and now with these newest, these new lawsuits that are coming out involving 25 minors allegedly, no bail. Yeah, Robert, I'm guessing. Robert says, I'm betting no bail. I'm betting no bail too. Jay Eats says, Jolene, I'm hoping not, but I think he'll get out on appeal. So you think Diddy will get out on appeal? Cammie says, agreed, Jolene. No one wants Diddy out. Nobody wants Diddy out. Susan S says, they say if you rub GBH or GHB on your skin, you're knocked out, which is very just terrifying to know. There was also a rise in fentanyl deaths with these horse tranquilizer type drugs as well. I saw, and Cat Williams was doing a stand-up comedy show recently and was talking about this laced baby oil of Diddy's. And we all know Cat Williams, the Nostradamus of our times, just telling us all we need to know about liars and people who will be exposed in 2024.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I hate to seem like a petty individual for picking apart lies, but Jussie Smollett gonna keep lying until you say we don't believe you. Like, it's important in the checks and balances of the universe that liars not get to make complete narratives for themselves.
And that's what Diddy was doing, making a complete narrative that was false, that he was, people were coming at him in some witch hunt where clearly, no, sir.
All people that love the truth got to be happy if the truth coming out and lies is getting exposed. That's just what time it is. 2024, folks.
That's just what time it is. 2024, folks. So now, we're just getting off of this press conference with these horrific allegations involving so many minors. And now with Diddy and his new friend, Sam Bankman-Fried, allegedly giving him tips, telling him, hey, you should try my lawyer, Alexandra Shapiro. Maybe she can help you with your appeal to get out on bail, or whatever happens with your case, she can help with an appeal. Again, I'm just speculating on what the conversation was. So let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Witnesses, Diddy in court arguments so far have been weak. Not sure he'll get bail. Very weak. I think he's hoping with these new attorneys, they will be better. But I doubt it. Cheyenne says he definitely cannot be trusted to be in society. No, he cannot. He's been in society long enough, and look at what he's done. So yes, NYC girl. 120 survivors are about to file separate lawsuits against Diddy and other defendants. 25 of those allegedly, according to Tony Buzbee from the Buzbee law firm in Houston, one of the law firms that are taking up these lawsuits with the Ava Law Group, said that 25 of these survivors are minors. Sandy says, well, fix the problem with cops not knowing how to deal with SA cases, for God's sakes. That is their job. You would think, again, that was very reminiscent, that was involved in the whole, kind of breaking down the, people thought that when people talk about, cleaning up the police, and they thought they were talking about just getting rid of police in general because it had a very bad name, abolishing the police. Obviously, that was bad for marketing. That's not what they were saying. They were saying this current system, okay? And there needs to be more training. They need to have specialists when dealing with this, people who come in. You can't just have any police officer coming in dealing with these kind of situations. You need people who are experienced, who are knowledgeable, who are educated in this sort of thing. When it comes to SADV, the police are dealing with a lot of things that they are not equipped to deal with. But unfortunately, whoever came up with the abolish the police marketing, horrible marketing, because people just ran with it and said, we can't get rid of the police altogether. And that wasn't what they were saying. They were saying there are systemic problems within our police structure, and those need to be fixed. But that was just not seen. And it was overlooked because of the horrible marketing campaign of that. Care Bear, Age of Aquarius, Cat Williams. Jay Eat says, Joleen, they're going to give him bail. Diddy cohorts want to silence him so he won't spill their beans. The people involved are major hitters. That is my fear, but I hope that is not the case. That is hopefully. Careful, Dave. That picture is going to fall on you. Hold on, guys. Let me play a little. Oh, shit. You okay? Oh, baby. Come here, Dave. Come here, that stupid picture frame. Come here. He had his legs up against the picture frame and it fell. Come here, baby. You okay? Oh, let me see. Do I have any treats for you in here? Okay, don't get mad, Buffy, but he got hit by a picture frame, so he's going to get a little part of a bone. Here, David. Here you go, David Dugan. Love you. So sorry that happened to you. Oh, sorry, Buffy. She's looking at me like, bitch, where's my treat? You'll get one. We're going to wrap it up. Don't worry. Don't worry, baby. Okay. Let's see. Sandy says, one thing I do know, it took more than Diddy to make this work. So long. And so I hope we start hearing a lot more arrests for enablers and those that knew and did nothing. And I still can't believe the minors. I know it's crazy. Susan says, if you listen to Justin Bieber's I'm So Lonely, it's so sad that he was so abused by Diddy. I mean, it's hard to think that they wouldn't have targeted him. But yes. Witnesses, I will love to see what the LAPD's involvement in this case is. That's always very interesting. Hello, Yvonne. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yvonne says, hi, Jolene. I'm sorry to hear about your fur baby, Tilly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's producer Tilly saying hi. You know what, Jay? I think producer Tilly would drop something on the dog. So that is her saying hi. Hi, Tilly. We miss you. Sorry, Dave. You didn't deserve that, but that's just the relationship between cats and dogs. Dave Dog's he's always wilding out. So crazy, disturbing, horrific allegations coming out of these 120 lawsuits that will be filed in the next 30 days. I was going to say 120 days. And names will be named according to Tony Buzbee, the attorney from the Buzbee law firm working with the Ava Law Group out of Houston to get justice for some of the survivors and coming forth with civil lawsuits. So that's where we are today with the Diddy situation. He also has new lawyers. He's also going to be going up for the third time to get bail. Let's all put it out. Pray to producer Tilly that Diddy does not get bail, because this man, just from the Cassie tape alone, is a monster. Even if everything else isn't true, which, come on, we know. Just the Cassie tape alone, just what we saw in that 2016 video is enough for me to say, lock him up forever. And we got to name them. I am very much looking forward to them naming these people who were complicit, who participated in it, or who profited off of this abuse. I am looking forward so much to those people being named, and hopefully they do. And hopefully this isn't another Epstein situation where we're still wondering why we don't have more information if you have all the flight logs and everything.
Name them.
Name them.
Well, what
Name
you
'em.
did was ridiculous.
Name 'em.
Not having.
Name 'em.
Well, be quiet. So
Name
let me
'em.
talk. Jesus.
Name them.
And yeah, I mean, I think these lawsuits, Cammie's saying there would be too much outrage on this one for him to get bail. And I think these lawsuits that were spoken about today in the press conference alone are going to, just showing them and people having knowledge, I would be very shocked if he would get bail with these kind of allegations up against him. It's just too much. There's a point where there's just too many allegations, okay? And everyone's not lying. It's you. Hi, you're the problem. It's you. So thank you guys so much for joining me today for No Offense, All Offense. I know it wasn't funny, but sometimes there are topics within pop culture that we got to talk about. That's just, it's very hard to find the funny in these things because it is so disturbing. But we'll continue to cover the Diddy of it all. We'll continue to cover our other pop culture news stories and Bravo Television and Vanderpump Rules things, and also Big Brother 26. I'll be back very soon with another live, you guys. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate all of you in the chat. Shout out to my super chatters, Pamela B and B Tina. Please smash that like on your way out and comment after the video post. I love to hear from you guys and what you have to say, and I don't get to all of your comments while I'm here just yapping away. So thank you. Subscribe if you haven't already. And please follow me on social media at Joleen Lunzer on Instagram, Twitter, and the TikTok. And remember, you are all beautiful pumpkin spice babies, and enjoy yourself because it's later than you think. Bye.
If you like what you